All right, let me give you the solution for the exercise. Now, I'm not going to spend time explaining all of these resources because RabbitMQ and Zipkin, this is not technically the correct way of you deploying them to Kubernetes if you are running things in production. So this was me trying to figure out ways of deploying RabbitMQ and Zipkin, and I've managed to do it using stateful sets, which is pretty much almost the same as Postgres. For Zipkin and RabbitMQ, we are not storing anything, but we could. I think Zipkin depends on MySQL if you want to persist data. I'm going to leave some links where you can learn more about these resources. And also, if you are interested, check my Kubernetes course where I go in much detail and cover all of these resources. But all I want you to do is just trust me. I gave you these resources, and make sure that you put them inside of Bootstrap and then have a folder for RabbitMQ, all of the YAMLs, and then for Zipkin as well have these two YAMLs. And once you have this set up, you can apply these resources. So let's open up the terminal, and in here I'm going to apply, and then instead of Postgres, in here let's apply Zipkin first. There we go, we have Zipkin. And finally, let's apply RabbitMQ. Now I'm going to get the pods and then -w. And you can see that currently these have the status container creating. So basically it's just pulling the Docker images. So just bear a second and you can see that Zipkin is already up and running. And there we go. You can see that RabbitMQ seems to be running, but 0 out of 1 is ready. So you can see for Zipkin 1 out of 1. So let's just wait a little bit. And in fact, let me just check the logs to make sure that everything is fine. Control C and just say logs. So kubectl logs, and then here say RabbitMQ and then 0. So 0 is the name of this pod in here. Press enter. And if I scroll up, things seem to be fine. So let's just get the pods again. And there we go. So now it's ready. Actually, just took a while, but you can see that it is ready. So 1 out of 1 for Postgres, RabbitMQ, as well as Zipkin. Let's check the logs for Zipkin. So kubectl logs Zipkin -0. And you can see that this is very familiar. So it's basically serving on 94.11. And also what I want to show you is if I say kubectl get and then all, and in here you can see all of the resources, pods, services, and then stateful sets. But what I want to show you is we have RabbitMQ and the type is node port, and then Zipkin, the type is load balancer. Now you can check my course to understand the difference between all of these types. But let's go together first and learn how we're going to access both RabbitMQ as well as Zipkin. So with minikube, we have this command, minikube, and then service -- and then URL. And if I scroll up, I just want to show you that. So the service name that we need is RabbitMQ. So here, and then space, RabbitMQ. If I press enter, starting a tunnel, and now check this out. We have this URL. Now I can take this URL, and the reason why we have 2 is because of the AMQP protocol for our microservices. But here, let's open up our browser and then open up a new tab, paste that URL, enter, and check this out. We've accessed RabbitMQ. So the username is guest and the password is also guest. Don't save, log in, and I think I've mistyped guest. Yes, I did. So there we go, guest, and I'm inside. So you can see that RabbitMQ. So you can see that RabbitMQ is running on Kubernetes. Now let me go back to the terminal and let's do the same for Zipkin. Now, because I'm using Docker, I need to keep this terminal open. So I'm going to open up a new shell. And here, let's just do the same. So let's just say minikube service -- URL and then Zipkin and starting. And you can see that we only have one URL this time because we're only exposing one port. So let me just take this URL, go back to my web browser, new tab, paste, enter, and check this out. So we should see Zipkin in a second, and there we go. We have Zipkin also up and running with Kubernetes. So which is really nice. Now, one thing that I want to show you is, so here, if I press Ctrl+C on the Zipkin one and then clear the screen and then type kubectl get and then pods, or actually get services, have a look. This is pending right here. So for Zipkin is pending, the external URL right here. And this is because the type is load balancer. Now, if you want to access the load balancers that you have within your minikube, you can just say minikube and then tunnel. And what this gives me now is the ability to access my service on the specified port, which is 9411. Currently, this port, so it's 68636. So this is a random port that was chosen. But because the type is load balancer, so here now, if I open up a new shell and then type get services again, have a look. The external IP now is localhost. And that means I can access through the correct port. So now this will be 9411, enter, and you can see that this also works. Now, I'm showing you different ways of you accessing your services within Kubernetes so that you are aware of. But in my Kubernetes course, I cover all of this, and we did it. Let me now close this window. Let me also stop the tunnel, and also here, I want to close everything. And if I clear the screen and then type get, so let's just get pods, and there we go. We've done it. We have Postgres, RabbitMQ, as well as Zipkin up and running within Kubernetes. Now, these are the resources that our microservices depend on. Next, let's prepare our microservices so that they can also run within Kubernetes.